It's been more than 10 years since the original Steam controller, Valve's take on a gamepad designed specifically for PC gaming. Now, that controller only ever found a small cult following. Its most innovative feature, haptic touchpads intended to give more detailed control of a mouse pointer, was also its most polarizing, given that the touchpads took the place of standard thumbsticks, turning off anyone who was just looking for a traditional gamepad experience. While the original Steam controller failed, its innovations paved the way for the touchpads found on the excellent Steam Deck, thankfully now in addition to traditional thumbsticks instead of them. In turn, the Steam Deck's success has begat a new batch of Valve hardware, the forthcoming Steam Machine and Steam Frame, as well as the new Steam controller, which after 2 weeks of testing has quickly become my favorite controller for PC gaming. The new Steam controller will look familiar to anyone with a Steam Deck, but a little bit odd compared to the default Xbox controller. It has a standard controller shape with a symmetrical dual thumbstick layout, most akin to the base PS5 controller. Its A, B, X, Y face buttons and D-pad again mostly mimic the PS5 controller's layout, though they're very slightly more in line with the thumbsticks. The face buttons feel solid. They're not particularly clicky, but they have a satisfying press without any instability or rattle. The D-pad is similar. It has a nice bit of travel to it and doesn't feel mushy, but it lacks the clickiness found on the Xbox Core controller. It's perfectly serviceable for platforming in Hollow Knight Silksong, but it lacks definition on the inner cardinals and doesn't excel at quarter circles or other fighting game inputs. Of course, for that, you're better off opting for a dedicated fight stick anyway. On top are the triggers and bumpers. The bumpers feel about the same as the face buttons, neither clicky nor mushy, while the triggers have a comfortable lip and travel distance. There's no switch or trigger stops to adjust their physical actuation point, but using Steam input you can change them to activate on a slight pull or assign separate actions to a soft versus a full pull if you like. Around back are the rear buttons, which rest exactly under your middle and ring fingers when holding the controller. I found them easy and comfortable to press, though the bottom two, R5 and L5, occasionally would press by accident if I rested my hands on my leg in a certain way while holding the controller. It's not really a huge issue overall, and only a problem if you happen to cross your legs and rest your controller hands in the exact same way that I do, but it's something to be aware of nonetheless. The analog sticks are excellent, with a shallow concave top and a rubberized lip around the ring. They're comfortable to use and quickly snap back to the center position when released. Unlike most controllers though, these have capacitive touch capability, which means they can detect whether your thumbs are touching them or not, and use this information to toggle advanced features like gyroscopic controls. But that's not the only advanced tech behind the sticks. They have tunneling magnetoresistance, or TMR sensors under the hood, which means they use magnets to achieve a higher polling rate, lower power consumption, and greater level of precision than traditional analog or even Hall effect sticks. Most importantly, TMR sensors are virtually immune to stick drift, as there's no physical components to the sensors that will wear down over time. The Steam controller should last years before the sticks degrade in any way. Below the thumbsticks are the Steam controller's most unique feature, its pair of large square touchpads, similar to those found on the Steam Deck. Like the sticks, these pads are capacitive, and they offer a pleasant haptic feedback whenever you touch them. The pads themselves don't click in, but they can be used as buttons in a variety of ways. By default, the whole pad functions as a single input, but you can customize this via Steam input to mimic 4 directional buttons, a radio wheel, or a variety of more complex control schemes that you can customize or just download from the thousands of available profiles built by the Steam community. Now, all that said, while I absolutely adore my Steam Deck, I have to admit that I rarely use its touchpads. They are a nice to have in the event that a game doesn't offer controller support, but in most cases, I just don't play those games on my deck rather than attempting to navigate complicated menus or carry out complex unit control via the touchpad. My experience with the Steam controller's touchpads has largely been the same. For the sake of testing, I tried playing Crusader Kings 3 and Against the Storm with the Steam controller, neither of which have built-in controller support. In both cases, the games were playable, but it's not a very efficient or enjoyable experience, and I honestly just gave up in frustration after a few minutes, even when employing one of the community profiles already built for the Steam Deck. Still, they're a feature that I would much rather have than not have. If nothing else, the touchpads make controlling the Windows desktop significantly easier if you ever find yourself outside of big picture mode and don't want to reach for a mouse and keyboard. Now, that's not really a huge need when you're sitting at a desk with a regular PC, but with a couch and TV setup, it is critical. Rounding out the front of the Steam controller are its 4 Start Select-like buttons. There's View on the left, Menu on the right, Quick Access menu down below between the trackpads, and finally the large Steam button dead center. The Steam button has a variety of functions that cascade depending on if the next step is already active or not. In other words, it turns the controller on, it then launches or focuses Steam if it's not already launched. If you're already in Steam, it then launches you into big picture mode, at which point it achieves its final form where it simply opens or closes the Steam menu. It's a useful sequence of controls, meaning that other than turning on your PC, you only need to press the Steam button a handful of times to move from the Windows desktop into the controller-centric big picture mode, on which it's easy to select and launch into a game. While it can't boot up your PC, at least if it's running Windows, it's the closest thing the living room PC experience has come yet to mimicking the ease of getting into a game that comes from a traditional console. Connectivity is handled by a small puck attached to a 5-foot USB cable, which connects magnetically to the back of the controller. It's a small detail, but I appreciate the rubber grips on the bottom of the puck, which help keep it anchored to your desk when not in use. And similarly, if you move the controller nearby, the puck jumps up to attach with a satisfying click. This made it easy to use the controller plugged in when needing to charge, and the plug's USB cable is actually a USB-C port that the cable plugs into, which means you can swap it out for a longer or shorter cable if you like. Valve claims a 35-hour battery life, but the ease of connecting to the puck meant that I honestly just never came close to running out of battery while testing the controller. In the event you misplace the puck or want to charge or connect without it, there's also a USB-C port on the top of the controller where you would expect. You can also connect multiple Steam controllers to a single puck if you're a multi-controller household. The controller also supports Bluetooth, but overall, it's a fairly cumbersome process if you plan on swapping between devices frequently. To be clear, the Steam controller is not compatible with consoles. Now, Valve is clear about this, but I was still hoping that the controller's broad Bluetooth connectivity would allow it to link up with the Switch or PS5 like it did my phone. Steam controller costs $99, which is an excellent price for the level of features that you get here. There isn't really a hard definition of what makes a pro controller, but the standard hallmarks found on many include customizable controls of some kind, back buttons, better than usual stick or button sensors, swappable parts, and other advanced control scheme options that aren't found on the default console controllers. The Steam controller checks most of those boxes, and that's not even counting for its unique touchpads. And it does that while costing significantly less than high-end controllers like the Xbox Elite or the DualSense Edge. And while there are cheaper controllers out there with some high-end features like the $40 PowerA Advantage, they often cut corners elsewhere, typically being either wired only or they don't have rumble. Steam controller, meanwhile, is about as full-featured as they come. It doesn't offer every single high-end controller option. Notably missing are short throw trigger stops, the ability to swap out parts, and its face buttons are merely perfectly fine rather than being particularly outstanding. But it has top-notch thumbsticks, outstanding haptics, and those touchpads that you just can't find anywhere else. The Steam controller offers both an excellent out-of-the-box experience as well as a playground for enthusiasts to tinker to their heart's content. If you're just looking for a fantastic controller for playing PC games and navigating the desktop between them, the Steam controller handles those duties perfectly. And if you're a die-hard customizer who wants to build out, or just borrow from the community, some bespoke button bindings and advanced touchpad controls, it does that too. Most importantly, it does both of these things without sacrificing one experience for the other. For more on the Steam controller, check out my interview with Valve, and for everything else, keep it right here on IGN.